Hello, everybody. David Shuster here. Just weeks after Donald Trump's trade war chaos, the U.S. economic news is going from bad to worse. According to the latest data from both the Federal Reserve and the World Bank, in just 6 months, Trump has tanked U.S. economic growth by half.
I would note that in 2024, the economy grew 2.8%. So in year one of Trump, we are going to grow, at least on track to grow, exactly half of what we grew in the last year of Biden.
On top of economic growth dropping from 2.8% last year to 1.4% now under Trump, unemployment is rising, especially for younger Americans and recent college graduates.
Recent college graduates, 5.8% unemployment rate. That is substantially higher than the U.S. average of 4.2% unemployment rate.
Weekly jobless claims are also up.
The average number of people applying for new unemployment insurance, i.e. people who recently lost their job or left their job, has gone up pretty substantially.
And inflation projections from the Federal Reserve keep going higher.
I think it's more accurate going up to 3% this year from 2.7% in their last projection. And you can see if you go back to last September before the election, they thought inflation was going to be down almost to their 2% target.
It all means the United States under Donald Trump is moving towards slower growth, more unemployment, and higher inflation and interest rates. The combination often leads to a term known as stagflation. Consumers, though, are already feeling the financial squeeze. And it's now dragging down Donald Trump's poll numbers to their lowest levels yet. Headline, Trump net approval hits new low in Economist YouGov poll. In that poll, 40% approve of Trump, 54% disapprove. The latest Gallup survey produced this headline, Donald Trump's approval rating falls to lowest point. Gallup found Trump with 40% approve and 57% disapprove. Both polls were in the field before Donald Trump's airstrikes on Iran. But that military action is not likely to help Donald Trump's political standing because a majority of Americans say they oppose the attack.
56% of Americans surveyed here disapprove of the military action in Iran, while 44% approve it. When asked if they think the strikes will make Iran more of a threat to the U.S. or less, more than half said more.
More than half of Americans think the U.S. strike has made Iran more of a threat. And the numbers get even worse for Donald Trump among independent voters. 60% of independent voters oppose Trump's military action. Here's Democratic strategist Chuck Rocha.
That's the most important piece. We expect Democrats and Republicans to run to their corner no matter almost what the issue is. Overall, in all the polling I've ever done, most folks are against war, against sending troops to war. But watch the independent number, because as we move into the midterms, there's only a small group of people. It's not a presidential election, and it's those most engaged, and it's those independents in swing districts that'll have the biggest impact.
Polls continue to show that a majority of independent voters and a majority of Americans support tightening the U.S.-Mexico border and making immigration more difficult. But as the Trump deportation raids intensify, a clear majority of Americans do not like the elimination of due process or even the targeting of migrant workers. According to the latest Pew survey, when asked about ICE conducting more raids where people illegally in the United States may be working, 54% disapprove, 45% approve. Many undocumented migrants are in the United States after fleeing political violence and persecution in their home country. The Trump administration is trying to suspend most asylum opportunities. And when voters were asked about that, suspending most applications for asylum, 60% disapprove and only 39% approve. The deportation rate data itself is also a growing problem for Donald Trump. During the 2024 campaign and this year in office, Donald Trump promised to target the worst of the worst, the most violent undocumented migrants.
We have thousands of murderers that came in. They're going to murder people. They already have murdered people in our country.
Right, so
we have to get them out.
But here's the headline from NBC News. Despite promise to remove worst of the worst, ICE has arrested only 6% of known immigrant murderers. ICE told Congress in September that over 13,000 immigrants known to have committed murder remained at large. Since then, only 752 have been arrested.
ICE detention is at record capacity now, near 60,000 people, even though they're only funded for 41,000. Why is it that more of these hardened criminals, known murderers have not been arrested. And what I'm told is that it's much harder to find people who have committed crimes. And in fact, some of the investigators from Homeland Security investigations have been pulled off those cases to go make arrests in the streets. They're getting the numbers up. As you know, Stephen Miller told ICE officials in mid-May to increase ICE arrest no matter who it was, not just going after people with criminal convictions.
So the number of arrests is up, but the fraction of people deported who committed a violent crime is 6%. And the ability to find the violent criminals is being hampered as law enforcement resources are shifted towards mass raids targeting peaceful migrants. In other words, the Trump claims about getting the bad hombres, as he said, were a scam. Just like the Trump scam about successfully obliterating Iran's nuclear program, Trump's scam about trade wars helping the U.S. economy, and the Trump scam that he would tame inflation. Inflation and the economy are consistently the issues that matter the most to voters, and no amount of Trump's spin or propaganda can soften the Trump polling crash now. Trump's approval numbers keep going down. Trump is underwater and sinking. And the U.S. economic data is getting worse. By the way, the Trump White House recently flipped out over a massive anti-Trump statue. Known as dictator approved, the statue stands 8 feet tall and features a gold-painted hand that is squashing the crown of the Statue of Liberty. According to a permit issued by the National Park Service, the creator said the work was a response to this, Donald Trump's military parade.
Watching this magnificent display, our souls are filled with gratitude.
The dictator statue display includes real quotes about Donald Trump from 4 of the world's dictators. We do have a great deal of shared values. I admire President Trump, said Jair Bolsonaro, who attempted a military coup in Brazil. President Trump is a very bright and talented man, said Russia's Vladimir Putin. The most respected, the most feared person is Donald Trump, said Hungary's Viktor Orban. Your Excellency, a special relationship, the extraordinary courage of President Trump, said North Korea's Kim Jong-un.
Are we close to seeing Mr. Kim here at the White House?
Could happen. I mean,
They talked about that yesterday with Mike Pompeo?
I think it's something that could happen. Yeah. Hey, he's the head of a country, and I mean, he is the strong head. Don't let anyone think anything different.
Right.
He speaks and his people sit up at attention. I want my people to do the same.
Check out that video at the link below. It generated a lot of comments on YouTube. One of the most popular is from Peter, who wrote, "No, Donald, Americans will neither stand up and salute nor bow down to you." Indeed. I look forward to reading your comments about Donald Trump's poll numbers continuing to drop as he tanks the U.S. economy.
I don't want to necessarily pronounce stagflation, but when you're moving towards slower growth, more unemployment, and somewhat higher interest rates, that is not the direction you want to be moving in.
I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.